Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast that will empower you to become financially independent as an entrepreneur. I'm your host, Sarah Young, an entrepreneur, wealth coach, and mentor to driven, ambitious female business owners who are ready to take action towards having a richer and more impactful life. I'm here to push you to think bigger about what's possible for your business and life, and I believe that your business is the best way to have more time and financial freedom. Just 10 years ago, I was $55,000 in debt and leaving a traumatic marriage as a 20-something. Fast forward to today, I now run a 7-figure agency with a team of 10 and growing and have built over $1 million in net worth while balancing taking care of my health and prioritizing being a wife and mom. In this podcast, I will teach you how to scale your business, take home a 6-figure paycheck, and save and invest for your financial future without having to sacrifice your life today. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 96, and I'm going to continue the theme of what I started talking about last week, and we're going to talk about how to create a financially sustainable business. So a couple months ago, I think it was back in November, I posted a few stories on my Instagram about busyness, the state of being busy, not business, but busyness. And I don't remember exactly what happened. I think I ran into somebody, and you know how you run into people and you ask them, how's it going? How are things? And they say, oh, I'm busy, right? I'm busy all the time, busy. And it got me thinking about how sometimes we say that and we don't question it, that your identity is being busy, and you may not realize that that's your identity. And so I want you to ask yourself, how often is that your default answer? Maybe people ask you how you're doing. You say, oh, fine. But then maybe people ask you, how are things? Oh, they're busy. So busy, right? Is that truly what you want your identity to be? Is that truly what you want people to think of you? Oh, that's Sarah. You're at my funeral, hopefully decades from now, right? You're at my funeral. Oh, that's Sarah. She was so busy. Like, no, that's not what I want people to say about me. So I posted stories about this, and several of my SMS clients, Scaling Made Simple clients, responded back about the story. Apparently was triggering them, as I do sometimes. And on our weekly coaching calls, we ended up spending a couple weeks in a row talking about this exact topic. Sometimes we do that inside SMS. Like sometimes it's hot seat coaching. Sometimes I'm teaching about something, it's just kind of whatever the group needs. But in this case, it was something that really resonated with them. So we dug into it. Side note, if you get into SMS, you also get all of the past call recordings. So you can go watch those 2 coaching calls. Anyways, we talked about this for a couple of weeks of like, what does it mean to, instead of being busy, to create a financially sustainable business where you knew that even if you didn't finish your to-do list, even if you aren't busy all the time, you knew that you would be okay financially. And I used to be this way too. It took, honestly, a lot of work to not be this way anymore. But what I find is really happening is that people are busy all the time, constantly adding things to their to-do list, because really you are afraid that if you stop moving, if you stop working, if you stop coming up with new strategies and trying to tweak things that may or may not be broken, you're afraid that if you stop doing that, you'll stop making money. You're afraid to be still. And the reason for that, this could be probably something you need to talk about with your therapist, right? I think we can get addicted to this feeling of being busy all the time because it makes us feel productive and it makes us feel like we're doing the right thing, whether that is socialization. We are valued for the work that we produce. The United States, we know that a lot of the people who founded the United States were puritanical people who believed in hard work and not having a ton of joy in life, right? Whether it's socialization or maybe it's your family or maybe it's just like me, my thing that I've had to uncover with therapists is that I feel like I get love from people by being smart and successful. And I think that is my value to people, even though logically I know that I have more stuff to provide than just my intelligence and my business savvy. That's just what as I was growing up, like I was always praised for having good grades. And that's what cause people to really, like me. It was the understanding that I had of the way the world worked. So you may or may not have that same experience, but we can get addicted to this feeling of being busy, to where if we stop moving, it actually causes stress because you don't know how to rest. You don't know how to do nothing. My husband and I had this conversation the other day, and he was thinking about retirement. He was like setting his goals or something. He was talking about retirement, and he was like, "Well, I don't know if I ever want to retire." And I'm like, "No, you maybe don't ever want to retire, but we want to get to the place where work is optional, right? Where we can we can wake up and do whatever we want to do, and we don't have to worry about money." And then I said to him, and I've asked myself this question many times, like, what would you do if you didn't have to work every day? Like, what would you do with your life? What would your identity be as a person outside of your business? And I think it's tricky when our identity is wrapped up in our work, in our business, that when we're not there, then we lose that identity and it feels scary. And so therefore, we go back to what's comfortable, which is staying busy, right? We avoid the things that make us feel uncomfortable, the rest, the lack of an identity, doing things outside of our comfort zone. We avoid those things by staying busy all the time. With that understanding, I want you to ask yourself, like, is that you? Do you ever do that? What if instead you knew that you would be okay financially, that things were going to work, your business was going to run without you? How could you make it so that you are okay financially, even if you don't finish the endless to-do list that you have? Even if you're not busy, even if you work less hours, right? What if that was your life? I think logically, you probably want that. The reality of implementing that is a whole other thing. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. I find that there's really two categories of things that we need to reach that place of success without busyness. There is, on the one hand, tactical stuff that we need to do, the tactical pieces of what you have to implement in your business and your overall strategy for lead generation and sales and delivering for clients. And then the other piece, which is equally as important, is the mindset and energy work of having, like, because you can have the things in place in your business, but still in your mind feel the stress. And so you have to have both of the tactics and the mindset. So we're going to talk today in this episode about the tactical stuff, the tactical pieces that you need in your business to make it financially sustainable. And then in next week's episode, we're going to talk about the mindset stuff. Now, before we jump in, really quick reminder, don't forget our 100th episode is coming out on February 15th. If we get to 100 podcast reviews by the 100th episode, I'm going to do a giveaway of 2 people who have left a review and filled out our form at sarahhyoung.com/reviews, or of course, link in the show notes. I will randomly select 2 people from the form submissions. One person will get a $2,000 scholarship to one of our group programs, and then the other person will get a one-on-one session with me. Okay, so don't forget, go leave us a review on Apple or Spotify, screenshot the review, and then fill out the form that's at the link in the show notes so you can be entered for the giveaway. The second reminder is that if you are interested in getting inside of Scaling Made Simple, which is my high-touch small group program where we work with solopreneurs or people with small teams who are ready to scale their businesses up to multi-6 and 7 figures and pay themselves a $100,000 paycheck. If you've been thinking about getting inside and you've been hesitating, now is a great time to do it, because for the month of January, as a pay in full bonus, I'm giving you an additional one-on-one 2-hour strategy session with me where we're going to map out your exact business model, scaling plan. We're going to map out all of your next steps you need to take. And then you get the 6 months of group calls and community support and all of the curriculum and resources that I have to help you implement that plan so that in 2024, you can scale your business up into, making 20K, 50K plus months and having the team support to make your business financially and energetically sustainable. So if you're interested in getting in, If you want to scale your business and your paycheck, go to sarahhyoung.com/scale to fill out the application. All right, so what are the tactical things that you need in your business to make it financially sustainable? I'm going to make this sound really simple and straightforward. And the reality is, I'm going to make it sound simple, but of course, there's a lot of moving parts and there's a good amount of work that you have to do to make your business simple, counterintuitively. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm also not saying it has to be overly complicated and difficult. The successful businesses that I see, the most successful businesses are the boring businesses. The boring businesses that figure out these 3 pieces, get them implemented, and just do them over and over and over again. And they only deviate from this plan, from this structure that they've built out when they're forced to, when something changes in the economy with their clients, whatever it is, right? But for the most part, successful businesses are boring. So the 3 things that you need for a really successful business are, number 1, consistent lead generation and sales. Number 2, amazing client results. And number 3, a profitable business model that includes a way for you to manage your money to make sure that your profits go where you want them to go. So let's talk about each of those 3 pieces. So number 1, we need consistent lead generation and sales. I'm going to walk you through this cycle that I see people go through all the time, and I want you to tell me if you think this sounds like you. You think to yourself, I'm not making enough money. I'm not making enough sales. I'm not doing the right thing. And so what you do is you feel stressed out, you feel overwhelmed, you feel fear, and you add more stuff to your to-do list to try to fix whatever you perceive the problem to be. You're busy, right? You end up not having the time to do the CEO stuff, the big picture stuff that actually moves the needle, because you have filled your to-do list with things that are either more client work, more to-do list items, more things that don't necessarily matter, that don't require your time, right? You stay busy and you don't take the time to do CEO projects, to do the big picture sales and strategy work that actually move the needle. And then what happens, because you don't take the time to do that big picture stuff, because you keep telling yourself, oh, and I'm not so busy, in 2 or 3 weeks, I'll finally have time to do it, except there's always something, right? What happens is you don't hit your business and money goals. You don't make the sales you want to make. You don't make the time for consistent lead generation and sales activities because you're so busy doing everything else. So you don't hit your goals. And then you tell yourself, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You tell yourself, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing the right thing. I need to make more sales. And the cycle continues on and on. If you've been in one of my masterclasses, you probably heard me talk about that cycle. Every time I do, I have at least one person who I can see them like on the camera, their eyes get really big and they're like, oh my God, that's exactly me. I bet it's most of you. You have to consistently generate leads and make sales. And the trouble is that as you scale your business, as you get to the point where you're making 5 to 10K plus in revenue, a lot of times you don't have a lot of team support. And so you get really busy in doing the work. And what is one of the first things that goes when you get busy? Marketing and making sales, doing the marketing activities that you know are going to bring you clients. And so to make a financially sustainable business, I think it really comes down to time management, right? Making sure that every single week you have time for your non-negotiable activities. What are those non-negotiable activities? You have to continue to generate leads. And so figuring out what are the activities that you do to bring new leads into your business, to get them to book a call with you or do whatever your sales mechanism is. How can you make sure that you do that consistently every single week? And how can you make sure that you don't drop the ball when you get busy? I'm going to tell you, I do it too. Okay. In 2023, I definitely allowed my energy fluctuations to impact me showing up to do marketing. And as a result, I mean, we certainly grew our revenue. We bought a whole freaking business after all. Like, it's not like I wasn't doing anything, but I'm not trying to give myself a hard time. But the reality is, if I had been more consistent in marketing, I could have grown both Young & Co. and my coaching business even more than I did. Okay. And so I'm not saying any of this to guilt trip you. I'm saying it's very, very common for the marketing and lead gen activities to hit the bottom of your priority list, even though I would say it's probably one of the most important things you can do in your business. Because what's going to happen? You get busy doing client work, you finish the project, you look up and you're like, I don't have anything coming, right? I don't have anything else to fill my calendar. So then you start doing marketing, you start generating leads, and then it takes time to get people in. It takes time to get projects signed. And it takes time for more money. And so you have a gap, and that causes cash flow fluctuations and stress, and you get caught in that cycle. So you really have to have a very well-defined lead generation and sales process. You do not need, in order to scale your business, in order to make it financially sustainable, you do not need a fancy strategy. You need to figure out, okay, how do I get new eyeballs on my stuff? How do I attract new people into my world? Is that from referrals? Is it from networking events? Is it from podcast interviews? Like, the options for these are pretty, is it Google? Like, how are you attracting new people into your world, right? And then once they're there, how are you converting them? How are you getting them to book a call? How are you nurturing them? How are you going to create the content that you need, whether that's like a podcast or social media or your email list? How are you going to keep them in your orbit to build the know, like, and trust factor so that when they're ready to buy your thing that you have, they book a call with you because you're top of mind, right? You need to have a simple plan. I think a lot of people go wrong with lead gen and sales because you think that you need the fancy strategies because that's like the sexy stuff that you see on Instagram. But the reality is, for most service-based businesses, it can be very, very simple. You figure out the handful of things that attracts new people in, that nurtures them along, that gets them to book a sales call, and you just keep doing that and optimizing that over and over. So that was number one, tactical piece number one, lead gen and sales, a simple plan, right? And to execute that consistently every single week. And so one of the things I encourage people to do inside SMS is to define what those activities are, set KPIs, and then make yourself a scorecard where you or your admin every week update the numbers, say, did I do these activities or not, right? And then you can clearly see a correlation between doing the marketing activities and generating sales. So that was number one, lead gen and sales. Number two is client results. So to make a financially sustainable business, let's say you have really great marketing, you promise all these great things, and then you don't deliver. That is not going to be sustainable. The easiest way to grow your business is to make your existing clients really happy and to give them good results, because they're going to become your biggest fans and start referring you people, right? I get more business at Young & Co. from referrals than any other source. And we have some clients who have referred us well over 6 figures in business because they keep bringing up our name and we've had such a long relationship with them. And how do you get people to do that? You have to give them good results. You don't give people good results by either being so frazzled that you're late to give them deliverables, that you tell them you're going to do one thing and then don't follow through, that you don't communicate. You have to really think about, what are the results my client wants? And what are the deliverables that they need in order to make that happen? And how can I make sure that happens? You also are not going to get consistent client results and happy clients if you are all over the place. If you and your team are, doing 8,000 different offers and custom everything, everybody gets different deliverables, everybody has different timelines. That is a recipe for disaster because your team is not going to know what to prioritize and do every day. Everything's going to be different. It just makes it way harder to show up and give really good, consistent client results. So you need to give good client results, you need to have the time to spend on processes, honestly, on client onboarding, on delivery, on even like templatizing things, making things in your brand colors. Like, I'm not saying go over the top with the way you design things, but just make it so you have a really great client experience. You can't always guarantee client results. I wish you could, but you just can't control other people. I actually had somebody on my Instagram comment and say, how can we get client results faster? And this was, I think they're a bookkeeper, and they were wanting to offer CFO services. I think I looked at their profile, and my thought was, I can't project, I can't force client results. I can't, in the role that I have, I can only really offer the strategy, and it's up to the client to listen. In this specific case of Young & Co. doing CFO services, right? There's other types of instances, like if you're designing a website or a logo for somebody, like it's up to you, right? You have to have the creativity, the time and space to be creative and give them what they want and have the process in place to get the information that you need from them to get them what they want, right? To give them a logo that is aligned with what they want, to give them the website that converts, like it depends on the type of service or product that you have, but you just can't always guarantee the client results because sometimes it's up to the client to do the thing. But what you can guarantee is that your processes, your deliverables, tee it up for them on a silver platter, right? So everything is easy and seamless for them to go do so that they get results, so that they're happy. Even if they don't maybe get the exact result you want them to get, they're at least happy with the service that they got so that they go refer you to other people, they stay on as clients, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so we need to deliver really great client results. The third piece that you need is really to do with financial management. Okay, and this is the one that people want to avoid the most because it makes them the most nervous. But you have to structure your business model. You have to think about the numbers to make sure that what you're selling is profitable, first and foremost. You also need to have at least basic money management systems in place, bank accounts, payment collection, payroll systems, whatever it is, so that your money doesn't get lost, right? If you are disorganized in your financials for your business, money gets lost. You're going to have no idea how much you're making. I'm going to ask you these questions about what was your revenue or your expenses. You're going to be like, I don't know. I have no idea, right? How can you manage your business if you don't know those things? You can't. You can't do it effectively. You're winging it. You're throwing spaghetti at the wall. You're just hoping that things work out. And sometimes they do work out eventually, though. I see like people will scale their businesses up and their stuff will be a hot mess. And there's always a reckoning point. There's always a time it comes back to bite them in the butt. It's just a question of when, okay? I feel like I got a little bit stern there. I'm not trying to get stern. I'm just, real talk, we have to have these things in place. So in terms of having a profitable business model, if you go back to last week's episode, I gave you some benchmarks and things around, gross profit margin, overall profit margin, et cetera, like that you need to make sure you're hitting. And so that really comes down to pricing and budgeting for how you're going to spend your expenses and understanding the range of, here's the pricing I need to hit the target profit margin. And here's my budget for expenses that I have. And let me make sure I stay in that. Side note, I have a course. Did you know I have a course? It's called Offers at Scale that walks you through creating, pricing, and then validating offers, profitable offers. I have a calculator tool in there. It's one of the best tools I've ever made. Honestly, I think clients tend to love it. Where you can put your numbers in for like team cost and product cost and put in your pricing, and it will help you calculate like what your prices need to be to hit certain margins. If you're interested in getting that course, you could have this up and running in the next few days. Go to sarahhyoung.com/store. It's the first one there, Offers at Scale. Anyway, side note, I don't know if I've ever mentioned that I have that. I think it's a great course. You need profitability. You need to be priced well, and you need to have a budget and staying in line with your expenses, and instead of just like spending on the next shiny object. And then on the other hand, we just need like basic financial organization. Like I said, you need the right business bank accounts. I've done episodes on this before. You need to have, basic payment processing systems. You need to have client invoicing systems and payroll systems in place rather than like Venmoing people back and forth. We need to make sure that you have an understanding of like, here's my cash coming in and here's what I'm thinking I'm going to have come out in the next month so that you can make sure you're not going to run out of money. Okay. If your money management system is checking your bank balance every day and saying, oh yeah, I have money to spend, and you go spend something, and then 2 days later you forgot about like an auto pay that's coming out, like that's not the way to stay cash flow positive and stay financially sustainable. Okay. So with that profitability, you guys know, you've heard me talk in like every other episode, I feel like on this podcast, I harp on savings. You need to make sure that you build up your business savings. You have at least 2 to 3 months of cash in your business at all times to give you that cushion so that if you have a slow month, you don't have to take on debt. And then personally, I'm going to say you also need to have your personal cash cushion, because if your personal finances are a hot mess, if things feel tight, if you quote unquote need your paycheck to come in order to pay the bills, you're going to put the stress on your business. And things just never go well when you put that stress on your business. All right. Okay. So that was it for a very high level overview of the tactical things you need for a financially sustainable business: consistent lead generation and sales, consistent and quality client results where you give them what you told them you would give them, and a profitable business model with good financial systems in place. All right. Like I said, when you summarize it that way, it sounds kind of simple, but I think we all know implementing each one of these things could take you 3 to 6 months at a time. So how do you know which one you need next? I think you probably know, listening to me. I think we have to typically start at the top, right, with lead gen and sales, because if you're not bringing money in, then nothing else is going to really matter that much. And so we need to make sure that you're bringing sales in consistently. I'm going to guess that your client results are probably good for most people. For most people, their holes are more in lead gen and the financial systems, and you pour like your heart and soul into client results. And so, yes, you could probably put processes in place, systematize, optimize these, but you generally need to start at the top. And then if you feel like you get consistent lead gen, consistent leads coming in and sales happening, if your client results are good, maybe they could be improved, then I want you to look at your financial systems, right? Making sure that you have financials, you can understand your profitability, and that you have those systems in place. As a plug, I don't talk as much about like Young & Co offers, but we do have now, since we bought the other accounting firm last summer, we more recently started offering tax and bookkeeping support. So more of the value level, like compliance type support for business owners who don't need CFO support yet. We also have a really great accounting package that includes our tax strategy services plus accounting, upgraded reporting, financial reviews. Like, this is a great offer for those people who are making, low to mid, even high 6 figures, growing their businesses, but they're not quite there. They don't quite need the CFO support yet. So we do still also have all the CFO options too. So go check those out. Also, if you need help with that financial piece, my team and I are really great at that. Go to trustyoungco.com to check those out. Okay, this episode got longer than I wanted it to, but I had a lot to say. So we'll be back next week. I'll be back next week to talk about the mindset piece of the equation, because you can do the tactical work, but if your mindset work is not there, then you are either going to never feel satisfied with what you have, or you're just going to self-sabotage yourself. So I'll be back next week with the mindset side of the equation of how do we create a sustainable business. Don't forget to go enter the giveaway for the reviews by the 100th episode, and apply for Scaling Made Simple if you are ready to scale your business and you want hands-on support and coaching from me as you do that. Go to sarahhyoung.com/scale to apply. During the month of January, we have the bonus of the additional one-on-one strategy session. So go check that out, and I will see you back next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Listening and learning is great, but implementing what you learned is even better. So what's one thing you can do this week to make more money in your business, save for your financial future, and start living your most prosperous life? If you found this episode helpful, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and share with a friend, because it helps me reach more amazing female entrepreneurs like yourself. See you in next week's episode.